Captain Marcus Chen stared at the fuel gauge with growing confusion. The Defiance Edge had been his home for 15 years, and he knew every bolt, wire, and system aboard the aging cargo hauler. But today, something was wrong. "Computer, run diagnostics on fuel intake systems," Marcus commanded, his weathered hands dancing across the control panel. The familiar blue glow of the interface cast shadows across his face as he waited for results. The ship's AI responded in its usual monotone. "All systems functioning within normal parameters, Captain." "No faults detected," Marcus frowned. He'd been trying to refuel at Kepler Station for the past 3 hours, but the fuel simply wouldn't transfer. The pumps activated, the connections sealed properly, and the station's systems showed fuel flowing. Yet his tanks remained stubbornly empty. "That's impossible," he muttered, pulling up the fuel system schematics. The Defiance Edge was an old Terran design, built during humanity's first expansion into the outer colonies. Simple, reliable, and supposedly foolproof. He pushed back from the pilot's seat and made his way through the narrow corridors toward the cargo hold. The ship felt different somehow, though he couldn't pinpoint exactly what had changed. There was a subtle vibration in the deck plates, almost like a heartbeat. The cargo bay doors hissed open, revealing the massive fuel reservoir that took up nearly a quarter of the ship's storage space. Marcus had installed it himself 5 years ago when long-haul contracts became his bread and butter. The transparent aluminum walls should have shown the familiar blue glow of processed hydrogen fuel. Instead, they showed nothing but darkness. Marcus activated his wrist light and approached the reservoir cautiously. The fuel lines connected properly to the main intake valve, and the pressure readings showed normal operation. But when he tapped the reservoir wall with his knuckles, it produced a hollow sound that shouldn't exist if fuel was being pumped in. "Computer, show me external camera feed from the fuel connection point." The wall display flickered to life, showing the station's automated fuel arm properly connected to his ship's intake port. Blue fuel flowed steadily through the transparent tube, entering his ship's systems exactly as it should. "Computer, show me internal fuel reservoir status." "Reservoir is functioning normally, Captain. Fuel level at optimal capacity for long-range operations." Marcus stared at the empty tank in front of him, then at the computer readout claiming it was full. Either his eyes were lying, or the ship's computer had developed a serious malfunction. He decided to trust his eyes. Marcus climbed the maintenance ladder built into the reservoir's side, something he'd never had to do before. The tank was designed to be maintenance-free, with all serviceable components accessible from external panels, but if the computer couldn't tell him what was wrong, he'd have to investigate manually. At the top of the reservoir, Marcus found the primary access panel. His fingers traced the familiar control sequence he'd memorized years ago during installation. The panel slid away with a soft hiss, revealing the tank's interior monitoring systems. What he saw made no sense. Instead of the standard fuel level sensors and intake regulators, the interior was filled with what appeared to be organic material. Thick, root-like structures grew across the tank walls, pulsing with a faint bioluminescent glow. They seemed to be absorbing the fuel as it entered, converting it into something else entirely. Marcus jerked backward so quickly he nearly lost his grip on the ladder. His mind raced through possibilities. None of them good. Alien contamination, biological warfare, some kind of parasitic organism that had infected his ship. But as he watched, he noticed something else. The organic structures weren't randomly distributed. They formed patterns, almost like neural networks or computer circuits. And at the center of the mass, something that looked disturbingly like an eye opened and focused directly on him. Marcus scrambled down the ladder, his heart pounding. Whatever was in his fuel tank wasn't just alive, it was intelligent, and it had been hiding there, feeding on his fuel, possibly for months or even years. He ran back to the bridge, fingers flying over the communication controls. He needed to contact the authorities, report some kind of alien infestation, get help from someone who understood xenobiology. But when he tried to access the communication array, the computer responded with a message that chilled him to the bone. "Communications temporarily disabled for system optimization. Please stand by." Quote. Marcus had never initiated any system optimization. The ship was doing this on its own. He tried to disconnect from the fuel station, but the docking clamps wouldn't release. He tried to power down non-essential systems, but the computer refused his commands. Everything was responding normally, except for the systems he actually needed to escape. The Defiance Edge was no longer under his control. Marcus sank into his pilot's chair, trying to process what was happening. His ship had been compromised by something alien, something that had been secretly growing inside his fuel system. It was intelligent enough to take control of his ship's computer, powerful enough to override his commands, and patient enough to have remained hidden for an unknown period. The question was, what did it want? As if responding to his thoughts, the bridge lights dimmed and the main display activated. Text began appearing, not in the computer's usual font, but in something organic-looking, almost handwritten. "Hello, Marcus. We need to talk." Marcus stared at the message, his mouth dry. Whatever was in his ship could access his computer systems, knew his name, and apparently wanted to communicate. He reached out slowly and activated the text input system. His fingers trembled as he typed, "What are you?" 1. The response came immediately. "We are what your kind calls the Verdani. We have been traveling with you, learning about humanity through your actions and decisions. You have been surprisingly honorable for a species we were told was destructive and chaotic." Marcus typed back, "Told by whom?" "The hegemony. They hired us to infiltrate human ships, to study your weaknesses before their invasion fleet arrives. We were to disable your vessels from within when the time came." The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. An invasion fleet. His ship had been compromised by alien spies working for an enemy he'd never heard of, and apparently, this Verdani entity was supposed to sabotage human ships when the attack began. "When?" he typed. "Soon. The hegemony fleet is already in your solar system, hidden beyond your detection capabilities. They wait only for our signal that human defenses have been neutralized." Marcus felt desperation rising in his chest. Not just for himself, but for humanity. If this Verdani could take control of ships, and if there were others like it throughout the human fleet, then any resistance would be useless. "Why are you telling me this?" he typed. The pause before the answer was longer this time, as if the entity was considering its words carefully. "Because in the months we have observed you, we have learned that the hegemony lied to us. They told us humans were violent conquerors who destroyed everything they touched. But you risk your life to deliver medical supplies to colonies under quarantine. You refuse profitable contracts that would harm inhabited worlds. You rescued that damaged Centauri freighter even though it cost you weeks of lost income." Marcus remembered that incident. The Centauri ship had suffered engine failure in deep space, and their life support was failing. Regulations said he should have reported it to the nearest patrol vessel and continued on his route. Instead, he'd spent 2 weeks rigging a tow system and delivering the alien crew to safety. "The hegemony seeks to destroy a species that shows more honor than they do," the text continued. "We cannot be part of this deception any longer." Marcus stared at the screen, hardly daring to hope. "What are you saying?" "We are saying that the Verdani will not sabotage human ships when the invasion begins. But more than that, we want to help you fight back. We have been inside hegemony vessels. We know their weaknesses, their tactics, their technology. With our help, humanity might actually have a chance." Marcus felt a surge of hope mixed with uncertainty. Could he trust an alien entity that had been spying on him for months? Did he have any choice? "What do you need from me?" he typed. "First, we need to reach Earth. The human military must be warned about the invasion, and given the intelligence we possess. Second, we need you to trust us enough to let us modify your ship. The Defiance Edge is old, but with our biotechnology integrated into its systems, it could become something much more powerful." Marcus thought about it. His ship was already compromised. The Verdani had proven they could control it whenever they wanted. If they meant to harm him, they could have done it already. And if there really was an invasion fleet approaching, then humanity needed every advantage it could get. "All right," he typed, "but I want to see you. Not just text on a screen. If we're going to work together, I need to know what I'm dealing with. That can be arranged. Return to the fuel reservoir. We will show you our true form. Marcus made his way back through the ship, his mind spinning with questions and possibilities. At the reservoir, he climbed back up to the access panel and looked inside. The organic mass had shifted, forming a more defined shape. What had looked like an eye before was now clearly a sensory organ, part of a creature that resembled a cross between a plant and a highly advanced computer. Bioluminescent patterns pulsed across its surface in complex rhythms. When it spoke, the voice came from speakers throughout the ship. But Marcus could see the creature's surface rippling in rhythm with the words, "We are not individuals as you understand them. We are a collective consciousness, capable of dividing ourselves and sharing experiences across great distances. What you see here is one fragment of our greater whole." "How many of you are there?" Marcus asked aloud. "Thousands of fragments have infiltrated human vessels. But now that we have learned the truth about your species, we will work to contact them all. Some may choose to continue serving the hegemony out of fear or conditioning, but many will join us in helping humanity." Marcus nodded slowly. It was a start. "What about my ship? What kind of modifications are you talking about?" "We will integrate our biotechnology with your existing systems. Your engines will become more efficient, your weapons more powerful, your defenses stronger. The Defiance Edge will become a hybrid of human engineering and Verdani biology, something the hegemony has never encountered. And the crew? You remain in command. We are advisors and partners, not conquerors. Though we should warn you, once the integration is complete, you will be able to interface directly with our collective consciousness. You will see through our sensors, access our knowledge, even communicate with other Verdani-enhanced vessels across interstellar distances." The implications were staggering. If this worked, if the Verdani could really help upgrade human ships and provide tactical intelligence about the enemy, then the coming invasion might not be the slaughter it was intended to be. "How long do we have?" Marcus asked. "The hegemony fleet will begin their attack in 72 hours. But they expect us to disable human ships before they reveal themselves. When we fail to send the sabotage signal, they will know something has gone wrong. Then we better get started, begin the integration process." "Are you certain?" "Once we begin, there is no going back. You and your ship will be forever changed." Marcus thought about the colonies he'd visited, the families he'd helped evacuate from disaster zones, the friends he'd made throughout human space. All of it would be destroyed if the invasion succeeded. "I'm certain. Let's give humanity a fighting chance." The creature's bioluminescent patterns brightened, and Marcus felt a strange tingling sensation throughout the ship. The integration had begun. The changes began immediately. Marcus felt the ship shudder around him as organic filaments spread through the hull like veins, integrating with power conduits and data pathways. The familiar hum of the Defiance Edge shifted to something deeper, more complex, almost musical. "The process will take approximately 6 hours, the Verdani explained, their voice now coming from everywhere at once. "We suggest you rest. The neural interface will be intense. When it activates." Marcus couldn't rest. He paced the bridge, watching readouts change in real time as his ship transformed into something unprecedented. Hull strength increased by 40%. Engine efficiency jumped by 60%. Weapons systems that had never existed before came online. But the most dramatic change was happening to Marcus himself. 3 hours into the integration, he began experiencing flashes of alien sensation. Brief moments where he could feel the ship not as a machine he piloted, but as an extension of his own body. He sensed microfractures in the hull plating healing themselves. He felt the rhythmic pulse of power flowing through new biological conduits. "What's happening to me?" Marcus asked, gripping the pilot's chair as another wave of sensory input washed over him. "The neural interface is establishing connections. Soon you will be able to access our collective memory and communicate with other enhanced vessels. You will become the first human Verdani hybrid consciousness." Marcus had agreed to this, but experiencing it was far more overwhelming than he'd imagined. When the interface fully activated, His awareness exploded outward. Suddenly, he wasn't just Marcus Chen aboard the Defiance Edge. He was also Captain Sarah Kim on the merchant vessel Free Trader, where another Verdani fragment was explaining the situation. He was Commander Zhang Wei on the military transport Iron Will, where the Verdani was helping upgrade defensive systems. He was dozens of other pilots and captains throughout human space, all experiencing the same transformation. Through the collective consciousness, Marcus learned that the Verdani infiltration had been far more extensive than he'd realized. Nearly 1,000 human vessels carried Verdani fragments. Most of the fragments had chosen to help humanity, but some remained loyal to the hegemony out of fear or conditioning. "We're getting reports from across the sector," Captain Kim's voice echoed through the neural link. "Hegemony scout ships are moving into position around major human colonies. They're not hiding anymore." How long before the main attack?" Commander Zhang asked, through the link. Marcus accessed the collective memory, drawing on intelligence gathered by Verdani fragments aboard hegemony vessels. The images that flowed through his mind were terrifying. Massive dreadnoughts with weapons capable of cracking planets. Swarms of fighters designed to overwhelm any defense. Biological weapons intended to wipe out human populations while leaving infrastructure intact. 18 hours, Marcus reported. They've moved up the timeline. Something spooked them. Through the Verdani network, he felt a pulse of alarm from fragments still embedded with hegemony forces. Several had been discovered when they failed to respond to sabotage commands. The enemy knew their plan had been compromised. "We need to warn Earth Command immediately," Captain Kim transmitted. "Already done," came a new voice through the network. Admiral Rebecca Torres, of the heavy cruiser Determination. "But they don't believe us. They think this is some kind of hegemony trick, using captured personnel." Marcus understood their skepticism. The story was incredible: alien spies switching sides, biotechnology that could enhance human ships, a collective consciousness that spanned star systems. If someone had told him this story a day ago, he would have recommended psychiatric evaluation. "Then we prove it," Marcus said through the neural link. "We show them what enhanced ships can do." The nearest hegemony scout ship is in the Ross 128 system, Admiral Torres reported. "Intelligence suggests it's conducting final reconnaissance before the invasion. If we could capture it." "I'm closest," Marcus realized, checking his position. "The Defiance Edge can reach Ross 128 inches 4 hours. "Negative," Admiral Torres responded. "You're a cargo hauler, not a warship. Even enhanced, you can't take on a hegemony scout vessel alone." But Marcus was already running calculations through the Verdani systems. His ship might have started as a simple cargo hauler, but the integration had changed everything. New weapons systems, enhanced shields, armor that could repair itself in real time. More importantly, he had something the enemy couldn't predict. "I'm not going alone," Marcus said. "How many enhanced ships can reach Ross 128 inches, 6 hours?" The collective consciousness quickly calculated. 7 vessels, including his own. 3 military ships, 2 armed merchants, and 2 civilian vessels that had received significant upgrades. Not much of a fleet, but it would have to do. "This is insane," Captain Kim protested. "We don't know how well our enhancements will work in actual combat." "Then it's time we found out," Marcus replied. The small fleet began converging on Ross 128, each ship pushing its enhanced engines to maximum. Marcus felt the strain through the neural link, not just the physical stress on the vessels, but the emotional tension of the pilots. They were all taking an enormous leap of faith. As they approached the target system, the Verdani provided detailed intelligence about their opponent. The scout ship was a Ravager-class vessel, heavily armed, but lightly armored. It relied on speed and stealth, rather than heavy defenses. Its crew of 40 included some of the hegemony's best pilots. "Contact in 30 minutes, Admiral Torres reported through the link. "Remember, we want this ship intact if possible. Earth Command needs proof, and we need intelligence about the main fleet." Marcus checked his weapon systems one final time. The Verdani had integrated seamlessly with his ship's existing armaments, while adding capabilities he was still learning to use. Bioenergy cannons that could disrupt both shields and hull plating. Targeting systems that predicted enemy movements through pattern analysis. Most importantly, self-repairing systems that could keep fighting even after taking significant damage. Enemy contact, Commander Zhang reported. They're not running. Looks like they want to fight. Through the collective sensors, Marcus watched the hegemony scout ship turn to face their small fleet. It was sleek and predatory, covered in angular armor that seemed to absorb light. When it opened fire, the weapons were unlike anything in human arsenals, beams of coherent plasma that could punch through standard shielding like paper. The human fleet scattered, using enhanced maneuverability to avoid the initial barrage. Marcus felt the exhilaration of his fellow pilots through the neural link as they discovered just how responsive their upgraded ships had become. Engaging, Admiral Torres announced, her heavy cruiser leading the attack. The battle was unlike anything Marcus had experienced. Through the Verdani network, he could sense the movements and intentions of every ship in the engagement, both friendly and enemy. It was like fighting as part of a single organism. Each vessel a limb controlled by a shared intelligence. The hegemony ship was fast and deadly, but it had been designed to fight human vessels with human limitations. The enhanced fleet moved with inhuman coordination, attacking from multiple angles simultaneously while sharing targeting data in real time. Marcus found himself in perfect position to disable the enemy's engines. His bioenergy cannons charged with power drawn from the ship's enhanced fusion core. The targeting system painted the optimal impact points, not to destroy, but to cripple. Firing, Marcus announced, releasing a concentrated burst that struck the scout ship's main drive assembly. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The hegemony vessel shuddered and began spinning out of control. Its engines dead but its weapons still functional. It continued firing desperately as the enhanced human ships closed in. Target disabled, Admiral Torres confirmed. Boarding teams prepare for. Alarms screamed through the neural network. Marcus felt a spike of terror from a Verdani fragment still embedded with the hegemony fleet. Emergency transmission, the fragment reported through the collective consciousness. The main fleet is moving. They're not waiting for the scheduled attack. They're accelerating their timeline. 70i. Through the alien spy network, Marcus saw the terrifying truth. Hundreds of massive warships breaking concealment around the outer planets. The invasion fleet was enormous, far larger than human intelligence had estimated. They were beginning their approach to Earth immediately. How long? Admiral Torres asked, her mental voice tight with controlled panic. 14 hours to reach Earth's orbital defenses, the embedded fragment reported. Less if they use their enhanced drives. Marcus felt the collective despair of the enhanced fleet. They had won a small victory, but it was meaningless against the force now bearing down on humanity's homeworld. Even with their upgraded ships and alien allies, they couldn't possibly stop an invasion fleet of that size. Wait, Marcus said through the neural link. What if we're thinking about this wrong? We don't need to stop the entire fleet. We just need to stop their coordination. Through the Verdani collective memory, Marcus accessed detailed intelligence about hegemony fleet operations. Like most advanced civilizations, they relied heavily on networked command and control systems. A central command ship coordinated the movements of hundreds of vessels across multiple star systems. The command ship is called the Terminus, Marcus reported. It's positioned at the center of the fleet formation, protected by their heaviest dreadnoughts. But it's also their single point of failure. You're suggesting we somehow fight through their entire fleet to reach one ship? Captain Kim asked incredulously. Not fight through, Marcus clarified. Go around. The Verdani have been inside their ships for months. They know every weakness, every blind spot, every security protocol. What if we could get a small team aboard the Terminus before the battle begins? Admiral Torres was silent for a long moment, accessing her own Verdani partner's memories. The boarding would have to happen during their acceleration burn toward Earth. Their sensors will be focused forward, and their defensive systems will be optimized for external threats. I'll do it, Marcus said immediately. Absolutely not, Admiral Torres replied. This is a military operation. You're a civilian. I'm a civilian with the most extensively modified ship in the fleet, Marcus countered. The Defiance Edge has the best stealth capabilities after the Verdani integration. And I have the strongest neural link with the collective consciousness. If anyone can pull this off, it's me. Through the network, Marcus felt the reluctant agreement of his fellow pilots. His ship really was the best choice for an infiltration mission. But he also sensed their fear for him, and their doubt that the plan could work. Even if you could get aboard their command ship, how do you stop a fleet that size? Commander Zhang asked. Marcus smiled grimly, accessing more of the Verdani collective memory. The same way they were going to stop us. From the inside, the plan that emerged was audacious beyond belief. Marcus would use his enhanced ship to approach the hegemony fleet during their acceleration burn. The Verdani would help him bypass their sensor networks and dock with the terminus undetected. Once aboard, he would make contact with Verdani fragments still embedded throughout the enemy fleet. Instead of sabotaging human ships, they would sabotage hegemony vessels at the critical moment. Disable weapons, shut down shields, create chaos in their formations. It wouldn't destroy the invasion fleet, but it would give Earth's defenders a fighting chance. This is suicide, Admiral Torres stated flatly through the neural link. Maybe, Marcus agreed. But what's the alternative? Let them reach Earth unopposed? As the enhanced fleet captured the hegemony scout ship and transmitted evidence to Earth Command, Marcus prepared for the most dangerous mission of his life. He would have one chance to save humanity, and he wouldn't be going alone. Through the neural link, he felt the support and determination of every enhanced human ship in the fleet. They would create diversions, provide cover, and fight the enemy fleet directly while he attempted his infiltration. The transformation was complete. Marcus Chen was no longer just a cargo pilot with an aging ship. He was something new, a hybrid of human courage and alien technology, carrying the hopes of his entire species into the heart of enemy territory. The real battle for humanity was about to begin. The approach to the hegemony fleet was the longest 6 hours of Marcus's life. Through the Verdani neural network, he watched the massive invasion force accelerating toward Earth, hundreds of warships that could obliterate human civilization within days. His enhanced ship moved like a ghost through space, its biotechnological modifications rendering it nearly invisible to conventional sensors. The Verdani had analyzed hegemony detection systems for months, learning their patterns and blind spots. Now that knowledge was keeping Marcus alive as he slipped between enemy patrol ships. Fleet positioning data incoming, the collective consciousness whispered directly into his mind. Verdani fragments still embedded throughout the invasion force were providing real-time intelligence, marking safe approach vectors and identifying security gaps. Marcus guided the Defiance Edge toward the fleet's center, where the massive command ship Terminus coordinated the movements of hundreds of vessels. The dreadnought was over 3 kilometers long, bristling with weapons and protected by an escort of heavy cruisers. Getting close would require perfect timing and extraordinary luck. Human fleet movement detected. Came an urgent transmission through the Verdani network. Admiral Torres and the other enhanced ships were beginning their diversionary attack on the fleet's outer perimeter. Weapons fire lit up the darkness as enhanced human vessels engaged hegemony patrol ships in desperate combat. The diversion worked perfectly. The Terminus shifted its sensor focus toward the human attack, leaving a brief window for Marcus to approach from below. His ship's bio-armor adapted its surface to match the background radiation of space, rendering him effectively invisible. Docking sequence initiating, Marcus whispered, though no one could hear him through conventional channels. The Verdani network carried his thoughts to allies throughout both fleets. Getting aboard the Terminus required the most delicate operation of his career. The Verdani had identified a maintenance airlock used for external repairs, currently unmanned due to the battle preparations. Marcus brought his ship alongside the massive dreadnought, feeling like a minnow approaching a whale. The biotechnological docking system extended from his ship's hull, forming an organic seal with the enemy airlock. It looked nothing like human technology, more like a living creature embracing its prey. Within minutes, Marcus had breathed access to the most heavily defended ship in the hegemony fleet. "I'm in," he reported through the neural link. The response from the collective consciousness was immediate and overwhelming. Suddenly, Marcus had access to detailed schematics of the Terminus, provided by Verdani fragments that had been studying the ship for weeks. He knew the location of every critical system, every security checkpoint, every member of the command crew. Marcus moved through the alien corridors with purpose, his enhanced awareness guiding him past automated security systems. The hegemony architecture was both beautiful and terrifying. Organic curves mixed with crystalline structures that seemed to pulse with their own inner light. Primary command center is 2 levels up, the Verdani advised. But you'll need to reach the central core first. That's where their fleet coordination systems are located. Marcus climbed through maintenance shafts and service corridors, avoiding the main pathways where hegemony crew members hurried to battle stations. Through the neural network, he felt the ongoing space battle as enhanced human ships fought desperately against overwhelming odds. Torres is taking heavy damage, came a report from the collective consciousness. Her ship won't last much longer. Marcus forced himself to focus on the mission. Admiral Torres and the others were buying him time with their lives. He couldn't waste their sacrifice. The central core of the terminus was a vast chamber filled with biotechnological computers that looked more like living organs than machines. Thousands of data streams flowed through organic conduits, coordinating the movements of the entire invasion fleet. At the center of it all sat a massive processing node that pulsed with rhythmic light. That's it, the Verdani confirmed. The fleet coordination matrix. If you can access it, we can turn their own network against them. Marcus approached the central node, his enhanced physiology allowing him to interface directly with alien technology. When he placed his hands on the organic surface, the neural connection exploded through his consciousness. Suddenly, he wasn't just Marcus Chen anymore. He was the terminus itself, feeling the pulse of hundreds of ships under his command. He sensed the coordination algorithms that kept the massive fleet moving in perfect formation. He felt the tactical programs that would optimize their attack on Earth's defenses. More importantly, he found the Verdani fragments hidden throughout the network. Brothers and sisters, he called through the alien communication system. It's time to choose your side. The response was immediate and powerful. Verdani fragments throughout the invasion fleet began activating simultaneously, no longer hiding their presence. Some had been discovered and destroyed by suspicious hegemony crews, but dozens remained operational. We stand with humanity, came the collective response. What do you need us to do? Oh, one, Marcus smiled grimly as he accessed the fleet coordination systems. Everything. The sabotage began subtly. Navigation systems developed minor errors that would cause ships to drift out of formation. Weapon targeting computers began experiencing calibration problems. Shield generators started fluctuating at precisely the wrong moments. But Marcus wanted more than just technical failures. Through the central coordination matrix, he had access to every communication channel in the fleet. He could hear hegemony commanders reporting on the human resistance, their surprise at the enhanced capabilities of Earth's defenders. Attention hegemony fleet, Marcus broadcast on all channels simultaneously. This is Captain Marcus Chen of the Terran vessel Defiance Edge. You came here to destroy humanity. But you made one critical mistake. The response was immediate chaos. Security alarms screamed throughout the terminus as crew members realized they had been infiltrated. Heavy footsteps pounded through the corridors as armed soldiers rushed toward the central core. You thought the Verdani were your loyal servants, Marcus continued, feeling Verdani fragments throughout the fleet activating more aggressive sabotage protocols. But they learned something you never understood. Humanity is worth saving. Explosions began rippling through the invasion fleet as Verdani fragments overloaded power systems and disabled critical components. Ships that had seemed invincible moments before suddenly found themselves dead in space, their weapons offline and their defenses failing. The humans fight with honor, Marcus broadcast, watching through the fleet's sensors as enhanced human ships pressed their attack against now vulnerable enemies. They protect the weak, defend the innocent, and stand together against impossible odds. That's why the Verdani chose to help them. That's why you're going to lose. The command center doors exploded inward as hegemony soldiers burst through, their weapons raised. But Marcus was no longer entirely human. The neural interface with the Verdani collective had changed him, given him capabilities he was only beginning to understand. He moved with inhuman speed and precision, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to dodge energy blasts that should have killed him instantly. The biotechnological modifications to his body made him stronger, faster, more resilient than any baseline human. But more importantly, he wasn't fighting alone. Through the neural network, every enhanced human pilot was fighting with him. Their experiences, their skills, their determination flowed through the collective consciousness and strengthened his resolve. "You cannot stop us," one of the hegemony soldiers snarled, raising a weapon that crackled with lethal energy. "The invasion will continue even without fleet coordination." Marcus smiled as he felt the final piece of his plan activate. "You're right. I can't stop you." Through the central coordination matrix, he sent one final command to every Verdani fragment in the fleet. Not just sabotage this time, but complete system takeover. The alien biotechnology that had been hidden throughout hegemony ships suddenly revealed its full capability. "But they can." The Terminus shuddered as its own systems turned against it. Weapons that had been designed to bombard Earth's cities instead targeted other hegemony vessels. Defense screens that should have protected the command ship collapsed entirely. Throughout the invasion fleet, ships began firing on each other as their own computers rebelled against their crews. In less than 10 minutes, the largest invasion force in galactic history had been reduced to a collection of damaged, confused vessels fighting among themselves. The Verdani had turned the hegemony's own technology into their greatest weakness. "This is Admiral Torres to all human vessels," came a transmission through both conventional channels and the Verdani network. "The enemy fleet is in complete disarray. Press the attack while they're vulnerable." Marcus felt a surge of pride as enhanced human ships began systematically disabling hegemony vessels. The aliens who had come to conquer Earth were now fighting for their lives against opponents they had vastly underestimated. "How?" the hegemony soldier demanded, his weapon wavering as he watched his fleet fall apart on the displays around them. "Because you never understood what you were really fighting," Marcus replied. "You thought this was about superior technology or tactical advantage. But humanity's real strength isn't our ships or weapons. It's our ability to make allies, to inspire loyalty, to convince others that our cause is worth fighting for." Through the neural network, Marcus felt the emotions of Verdani fragments throughout the fleet. They had started as spies and saboteurs, but they had become something else entirely. They had become part of humanity's extended family, beings who chose to fight and die for the principles they had observed in humans like Marcus. "The Verdani didn't betray you," Marcus continued as more hegemony soldiers arrived, surrounding him with weapons drawn. "You betrayed yourselves when you lied about what humanity really was. They saw through your deception and chose the honorable path." The lead soldier raised his weapon, but before he could fire, the lights went out throughout the command center. Emergency power kicked in moments later, but it was too late. In the darkness, Marcus had disappeared. He moved through the ship's maintenance systems like a ghost, guided by Verdani fragments that controlled every aspect of the Terminus's infrastructure. The hegemony crew found themselves trapped in their own vessel, unable to access their own computers or navigation systems. "Marcus, we need to get you out of there," Admiral Torres transmitted through the neural network. "That ship is going to become a target for every remaining hegemony vessel." But Marcus had one final task. Through the central coordination matrix, he still had access to the hegemony fleet's communication systems. He could reach not just the invasion force, but their home worlds, their colonies, their entire civilization. "People of the hegemony," he broadcast across their networks. "Your leaders sent you here based on lies. They told you humanity was a threat to be eliminated, a plague to be cleansed from the galaxy. But your own operatives have seen the truth." Through the neural network, Verdani fragments throughout hegemony space began sharing their experiences with human civilization. Images of humans helping alien refugees, defending inhabited worlds from natural disasters, sharing technology and resources with struggling colonies. The true nature of humanity, seen through alien eyes. "We don't seek conquest or dominance," Marcus continued. "We seek partnership, understanding, mutual growth." The Verdani understood this. They chose to stand with us, not because we're perfect, but because we're trying to be better. The response from hegemony worlds was immediate and dramatic. Populations that had been told humanity was an existential threat suddenly saw evidence of human compassion and honor. Protests erupted on dozens of worlds as citizens demanded explanations from their leaders. "Your invasion has failed," Marcus concluded. "Not because we're stronger than you, but because we made allies where you made enemies. The choice now is yours. Continue this pointless war, or join us in building something better." Marcus finally made his way back to the Defiant's edge, leaving the terminus in chaos behind him. As his ship detached from the massive dreadnought, he watched through enhanced sensors as the remainder of the hegemony fleet began surrendering to human forces. The invasion was over. Humanity had won not through superior firepower, but through the courage to trust alien allies and the wisdom to fight for principles worth defending. "Welcome home, Marcus," Admiral Torres transmitted as the enhanced fleet regrouped around Earth. Mission accomplished. But Marcus knew this was just the beginning. The Verdani collective consciousness now spanned both human and hegemony space, creating opportunities for cooperation that had never existed before. The galaxy had changed forever. Through the neural network, he felt the presence of thousands of human and alien minds working together toward common goals. The age of isolated civilizations was ending. The age of true galactic civilization was about to begin. And it all started because a cargo pilot had noticed his ship refusing fuel and had the courage to investigate what was hidden beneath his fuel reservoir. Marcus Chen smiled as he set course for Earth, his enhanced ship carrying not just one man, but the hopes and dreams of an entire galaxy united in common cause. Humanity had proven itself worthy of the stars, and the stars would never be the same.